Civilization will not collapse because of a nuclear war. It will collapse because people stopped thinking. And the most uncomfortable part is this. It wasn't them. It was you. It was me. It was us. Every time you shared something without verifying it. Every time you chose a meme instead of understanding a problem. Every time you chose to feel good instead of being right. That's how civilizations die. Not with explosions, with distractions. Rome did not fall when the barbarians entered. It fell when the average citizen replaced debate with spectacle. The Maya did not disappear because of ignorance. They disappeared knowing what was happening, and still chose the short term. And we are doing exactly the same. The difference is that now the circus fits in your pocket, and you carry it with you all day. The question is not whether decline is happening. The question is whether you are part of the fuel. In 2006, Idiocracy seemed like an exaggerated satire, an absurd dystopia where incompetence ruled. Today, that film no longer seems exaggerated. Celebrities with no formal training occupy positions of power. Experts are ridiculed for using data. The word intellectual is pronounced almost like an insult. That is not a coincidence. It is a symptom, and it is not new. Rome was the most sophisticated political and military machine of its time. The Maya mastered astronomy with precision that still astonishes. The Ming dynasty possessed the most advanced naval fleet on the planet. The Islamic Golden Age preserved and expanded classical knowledge while Europe was burning it. All of those civilizations seemed impossible to overthrow. And all of them collapsed. Not because they lacked technology, not because they lacked knowledge, but because they stopped valuing deep thinking. Rome did not begin to fall when the barbarians crossed its borders. It began to fall when public debate was replaced by spectacle. When the forum stopped being a space for ideas and became entertainment. Juvenal summarized it with a phrase that echoes across centuries. Bread and circuses. Enough food, constant distraction, and critical thinking becomes unnecessary. Today we don't need amphitheaters. We have screens. In 2016, the Oxford Dictionary chose post-truth as the word of the year. It was not a trivial cultural gesture. It was a collective confession. It meant that objective facts had lost weight compared to emotions and personal beliefs. An MIT study revealed that false news spreads 6 times faster than the truth. Not because it is more accurate, because it is more comfortable. Truth demands analysis. A lie only demands reaction, and we are training ourselves to react. Anti-vaccine movements have revived diseases that were nearly eradicated. The scientific consensus on climate change is overwhelming. 97% of climate scientists agree, and yet public opinion fragments as if evidence were optional. We are not witnessing ignorance. We are witnessing active resistance to knowledge. Conspiracy theories do not thrive because they are solid. They thrive because they simplify the complex and offer immediate villains. That is addictive. But every time we choose the emotional explanation over the rigorous one, we weaken something bigger than a debate. We weaken the mental foundation that sustains a civilization. Let me ask you something, and answer without defenses. When was the last time you changed your mind about something important? Not about a trivial detail, about a belief that defined you. If you can't remember, maybe it's not because you're always right. Maybe it's because you're no longer trying to be wrong. And that is the first step toward decline. Socrates understood it more than 2,400 years ago. An unexamined life is not worth living. Athens executed him for that. Not because he was armed, but because he asked too many questions. Today we don't need hemlock. We have algorithms. Social media does not seek truth. It seeks retention. And retention is achieved by reinforcing what you already believe. The echo chamber is the new prison. Cambridge Analytica demonstrated that it is possible to manipulate massive decisions by exploiting individual psychological profiles. You don't need to change facts. You just need to personalize fear. That does not happen in intellectually strong societies. It happens in societies tired of thinking. Rome did not fall overnight. First it became comfortable, then it stopped questioning. Then it confused entertainment with stability. Decay never begins with fire. It begins with indifference. Like a tiny crack in a dam, invisible at first, irreversible at the end. The second stage of decline is not loud, it is seductive. It is when a society begins to live exclusively for the immediate present. When the pleasure of now replaces the responsibility of later. It does not happen out of malice, it happens out of comfort. Alexis de Tocqueville warned about it with unsettling precision. He did not fear a brutal tyranny. He feared something more efficient, a soft despotism, a system where no one forces you to obey because you are too entertained to question. You don't need chains when you have infinite distractions. Friedrich Nietzsche took it even further. He spoke of the last men. Individuals obsessed with security, comfort, and small satisfactions. Incapable of sacrifice. Incapable of greatness. Incapable even of asking deep questions without feeling discomfort. It's not that they cannot think. It's that they do not want to. The Maya were brilliant astronomers, advanced mathematicians. They built cities that defied time. But when they faced ecological pressure, they chose immediate expansion instead of sustainability. They had the data. They lacked collective discipline. Today we face our own Maya moment. We have precise climate models, detailed projections, real-time data. Never in human history have we had so much information about our environment. And yet our decisions are governed by 4-year election cycles and quarterly earnings reports. We know more, we act less. A study by H. Hirschfield revealed something unsettling. The human brain perceives its future self almost like a stranger. We prefer immediate gratification because long-term costs do not feel urgent. We are not irrational, we are vulnerable. But civilizations that survive build structures that correct that vulnerability. Institutions that force thinking beyond impulse. South Korea invested in deep education for decades. Venezuela invested in immediate political benefits. One built resilience, the other eroded its institutional foundation. It was not a matter of resources. It was a matter of mindset. And then comes the third stage, the most dangerous one. It is not ignoring experts. It is attacking them. Carl Sagan warned that we were creating a society deeply dependent on science, yet incapable of understanding it. That combination is explosive. When you depend on knowledge but despise those who possess it, you become vulnerable to simple solutions for complex problems. Hannah Arendt called this the banality of evil. Not ideological monsters, but ordinary people who stopped thinking critically, who obeyed, who simplified. It is not hatred that destroys first. It is intellectual laziness. The Ming dynasty possessed the most advanced fleet in the world. Its ships surpassed any European power in size and technology. They chose to close themselves off. They banned exploration. They destroyed their own advantage. They were not defeated by technological inferiority. They isolated themselves mentally. And now look at our present. During the pandemic, millions preferred viral theories over research accumulated over decades. It was not a lack of access to information. It was cultivated distrust toward expertise. When basic public health measures become ideological symbols, we are no longer debating public health. We are debating tribal identity. And when identity replaces evidence, rationality loses. This is where the spiral accelerates. Critical thinking weakened. Short-term thinking dominant. Expertise discredited. Each element feeds the next. Less analysis produces impulsive decisions. Impulsive decisions generate crises. Crises fuel anxiety. Anxiety seeks simple solutions. Simple solutions strengthen simplistic leaders. And the cycle repeats. But history does not only record collapses, it records rebirths. The European Renaissance was not a historical accident. It was a cultural decision. Curiosity was valued again. Doubt was protected. Rigorous debate was promoted. Venice governed for centuries because it designed structures that balanced present and future. Finland teaches metacognition from childhood. Not just how to solve problems, but how to understand the way one thinks while solving them. Societies that survive do not depend on heroes. They depend on collective habits. Every collapse began with millions of small decisions made on autopilot. Every recovery began with individuals who chose to step out of that autopilot. The question is not whether decline is possible. The question is whether we are willing to interrupt the pattern. Because history does not repeat itself by destiny. It repeats itself through accumulated negligence. Rome believed it still had time. The Maya did too. The Ming dynasty did too. And each believed its stability was permanent. It was not. Decay does not begin when everything collapses. It begins when thinking ceases to be valued. And renewal does not begin in governments either. It begins in the individual mind, in the capacity to change one's opinion, in the discipline of seeking evidence, in the discomfort of questioning what benefits you. It is not heroism. It is basic responsibility. If this civilization falls or transforms, it will not be for lack of data. It will be because of the quality of collective judgment. And that quality does not depend on grand speeches. It depends on something more difficult. That thinking becomes a daily practice again. That doubting becomes strength again. That correcting oneself stops being seen as defeat. Decline is not inevitable, but neither is renewal. Both are the result of repeated decisions, and every repetition begins in an individual, not in an empire. In a mind, civilizations do not collapse by surprise. They collapse when they stop thinking, and that does not begin in governments. It begins in every person who chooses not to question. The question is not what the world will do. The question is what you will do. If this video made you think even a little more deeply, subscribe. We are not here to entertain. We are here to seek clarity. See you in the next video.